Hey everyone, it's Toby here for Attack Magazine. I'm also the producer for dub juggernaut Gentleman's Dub Club, and I'm going to show you how I use the SSL BiG SiX to do my live dubs, and I'm going to incorporate a selection of the vast array of SSL plugins you can use in your DAW. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe, very important. Let's get into it. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I perform the track Down to Earth by Gentleman's Dub Club. And if you want to watch the performance, click on the link below. Also, this is not a review, but if you want the full review, there's also another link below. Throughout this tutorial, I'm going to draw on the many hours that I've spent at the control to reveal some useful tips and tricks that will help you get the best out of your dub performances. It's worth bearing in mind that there are a million different ways of skinning a cat, and the numerous options on the BiG SiX can lead you down some exciting and inspiring roads you can apply to any different genre of music. Now, like I said before, you can dub pretty much any type of music, but I find the best tunes to dub are where there's a heavy groove in the track, with enough drums and bass to keep the speakers moving. Dub was created in the studio, but evolved on the dance floor, so always bear in mind the idea of keeping people moving when you're making your track. The track I'm going to work with is called Down to Earth, and it features Josh Skintz, and it's from our most recent album of the same name. Here's a little taster. Once you've made your song, you're going to be ready to export the audio so that you have all of your bounce group in a neat package of files. Bouncing stems is an essential part of producing music, so make sure you're meticulous in your labeling and your exporting so that you can concentrate on your performance. There are lots of tutorials online that show you how to export your audio, but something that doesn't necessarily get as much coverage is the importance of labeling your stems so that you can put them in your folder and send them off for remixes or drop them straight into a project. If you look at this folder, I've got all of the files labeled, the track name at the start, and then the instrument or the effect clearly labeled so that you know exactly what's what. Quick tip, remember you're going to be adding effects on top of your stems, so it's best to keep them pretty dry unless you want to bake in some effects to add a kind of background vibe. First, you need to prep your Logic session, making sure all your channels are clearly labeled. Then you can start outputting individual channels in your DAW to the corresponding channels in the BiG SiX. I've switched the BiG SiX channels to from USB, so the audio passes directly from my DAW straight into the BiG SiX. I'd also highly recommend getting a roll of masking tape, strapping it across the bottom of the desk, and labeling all the channels so that you don't have to think twice about where everything is. Once you've got your stems running through the mixer, a common pitfall is to start EQing and compressing as you go. Now, this might be fine for one song, but if you're dealing with multiple songs in a set that are EQ'd and compressed differently, then you're going to be EQing and compressing on the fly, which means less time to concentrate on your performance. I'd recommend that you do all of this preparation before your audio hits the desk. That way, you can just concentrate on your delays, your reverbs, and your performance. Try and get it so most of the knobs are at parity, i.e. when you get that satisfying click. And I actually prefer to use stuff like EQ as a creative tool, but we'll get onto that later. You can either record individual channels back in, or you can record what's called a 2-track straight back in, and that is the summing output of the BiG SiX. I prefer the 2-track because it captures the live feel, and it also captures the sound of the incredible G-Bus compressor. Another pitfall is sending the audio out of your DAW at too high a level. The reason for this is that you're dealing with some seriously high-end preamps, EQs, and compression on the BiG SiX. So I'd recommend sending it in at quite lower level and boosting it using the gain and the makeup knobs on the BiG SiX. Another thing to avoid is recording back in too loud. I would recommend a maximum of -4 dB to give yourself or your mastering engineer enough headroom to work with. There are a million different ways of using effects. Obviously, effects are a massive part of dubbing. I like to use them to emphasize the groove, to add rhythm to the track, and to add tension and release. Personally, I would just recommend you mess around with them until you find something you like. Now, I'm going to use these wicked SSL plugins, the X Echo and the Flex Verb. I'm going to set the delay to an 1/8 triplet to give it that cantering sort of falling over feel. And I'm going to add a short plate to send to add space to the track. I've also got a siren coming in on channel 3 because it sounds awesome. The BiG SiX also has these EQ in buttons, which means I can add or take away treble and bass like a DJ mixer, which will create tension in my dub. When you're dubbing, you're basically creating a brand new arrangement on the fly. So get to know where the chorus is, where the horn line is, where the vocals come in, etc. You might even want to edit the structure of the song to suit your dub. So, for example, with Down to Earth, the original track was 2 minutes 45, but I wanted to ride the dub for longer, so I literally just doubled the length of the tune. Now you're ready to record, get yourself comfortable, and remember, you're not aiming for perfection, but you're aiming to get people moving on the dance floor. I'd recommend doing a load of takes, switching off, and doing something else, and then coming back and listening to all of your takes. If you play your dubs back in a different context, I guarantee you'll hear them differently than if you're looking in the studio staring at a waveform. So take them out on your headphones in the street, listen to them in the kitchen, in the car's really good. You'll be way less critical. One thing that improved my skills massively was doing live YouTube broadcasts, because once the red light's on, there's no turning back. And once you get in the flow, it can be an amazing buzz. So this might be a bit further down the line, but once you've got a selection of tunes that you've made, or maybe stems that you've wrangled from other producers, you can start to make a longer set. Think about which order they go in from start to finish. You can run audio off a laptop, making a session in your DAW, or you can use a stem player like this Cymatic U-Track 24, which goes D-sub directly into the back of the desk. Try and maintain consistency between all the tracks. So experiment playing one tune, then the next tune, and maybe the first tune and the last tune. Try and get that consistency so you're not constantly messing around with EQ, gain, and compression. I still maintain that some of the most fun you can have in the studio is when you have your stems coming out of your DAW into your separate channels, a delay and a reverb, and the speakers turned up really loud. The BiG 6 is perfect for dubbing. It has the option of running audio straight from your DAW into the desk, but you can also incorporate that with any analog gear you might own. It has lightning fast faders, the EQs are incredible, clear sounding, very flexible, and it also has the legendary G-Bus compressor to glue your mix together. As I've said before, dubbing is not just for reggae, it can apply to lots of different situations. Maybe you want to add some reverb or delay to a chorus vocal. Maybe you want to create some space in the mix by pulling out some instruments and adding some effects to your drums and bass. If you're a dance music producer, dubbing can give you a deep knowledge of the ebb and flow of a dance floor banger and create a live feel that could take hours to replicate if you're using automation in your DAW. So now I'm going to run a performance and I'm just going to talk you through a few things that I'm doing as I go. I'm going to play a portion of Moonlight Dreams from our album Down to Earth to just show you a couple of techniques I use to keep my dubs flowing. So, in comes the tune. Put some reverb on the chop. So I'm going to delay out the strings and the drums, just leave the vocal. Delay the vocal out, drums and bass in. I'm going to bring the BVs in, and then delay them out. Now we've got a bit of room to put some reverb on the drums. And I'll bring the vocal back in. And delay that out. And bring the chops in. So I've had enough of the rhythm, so I'm just going to bring everything else in. And then I'm going to stick the EQ in. Create tension, delay the vocal, and then bring the BBs in, create a bit more tension, and then in comes the bass. Delay the organ out, vocal, backing vocals, delay them out. strings in. Delay them out. And then take the rhythm track out. Delay the vocal out and the chop out. Back to the beat. Delay on the drums. BVs. And then get a bit wild with the drums. Then I'm going to pan the delay and the reverb left and right. Just to mess with the melon. And then drop the drums out. Stick a load of reverb on the bass. And delay that out. And then the drums. Okay. We'll pan the delay. There we go. There's a walkthrough in real time of what I'm doing when I'm dubbing live. I know there's a lot going on, but don't worry too much about getting everything in all at once. Just have fun with it, and before long, you'll be making some amazing sounds. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time.